50 shocking USA facts. Did you know there's a US state that's growing, literally getting bigger every single day? Or that your compass will completely stop working in certain American mountains? Today, we are diving into 50 mind-blowing facts about American states that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about US geography. Some of these, they don't teach you in school for a reason. Let's get into it. Alabama. Alabama time zone. Everyone thinks the entire state runs on Central Time, but that's a lie. 4 cities decided they're too good for their own state's time zone. Phoenix City, Valley, Lynette, and Smith Station all operate on Eastern Time instead, following Georgia's lead. Why? Some say it's because they're part of Georgia's Columbus metro area. Others claim it's because of an old textile empire that needed everyone on the same clock to make money. Either way, imagine living in a state where you can't even agree on what time it is. Alaska. The ground underneath entire towns is literally collapsing. Places like Nome, Barrow, and even Fairbanks with its 32,000 people, they're all built on permafrost that's been frozen for hundreds of thousands of years. And now, it's thawing. Homeowners are watching their properties get condemned as the ground literally gives way beneath them. Houses tilting, foundations cracking, and there's not much they can do about it because you can't exactly stop climate change by yourself. Arizona is home to the sunniest place on planet Earth. Yuma gets sunshine 91% of the year. That's 310 sunny days, which sounds amazing until you realize summer there means blasting the AC just to survive, and your electricity bill looks like a mortgage payment. Now here's something wild about Arkansas. The hot springs there, they're not heated by volcanoes or magma. They're rainwater that fell 4,000 years ago, seeping 8,000 feet underground and getting pushed back up. That's right. You're basically bathing in ancient rain from when the pyramids were being built. And get this, these springs were so valuable that even Al Capone and rival gangsters declared them neutral territory. Imagine mafia families agreeing to a truce just to take a bath. California, almond water crisis. California produces 80% of the world's almonds, but here's what they don't tell you. Growing 1 pound of almonds takes 400 gallons of water. 1 pound. Compare that to strawberries, which only need 22 gallons per pound. So every time you drink almond milk, you're basically choosing it over someone's daily shower. Colorado. Colorado's average elevation is 6,800 feet, meaning if you've ever gone hiking with someone from there and felt like they were superhuman, it's because they literally operate on 5% less oxygen than you. They're basically training at altitude their entire lives while you're down here struggling. The Connecticut River sometimes flows backwards. When the tide from Long Island Sound pushes in strong enough, the river literally reverses direction for miles. Nature's Uno reverse card, happening twice a day. Delaware, chicken empire. Delaware has 200 chickens for every single person in the state. And it all started by accident. In 1923, Cecilia Steele ordered 50 chickens. They sent her 500. Instead of sending them back, she said, "Screw it," and raised them all for meat. Made a fortune. Her neighbors copied her. And now Delaware is basically one giant chicken farm. One woman's shipping error created an entire state's identity. Florida. Everyone thinks the Midwest is flat, but Florida is actually the flattest state in America, and the one most likely to be underwater one day. Its average elevation? 100 feet. The highest point in the entire state is 345 feet, barely taller than the Statue of Liberty. The state is basically a giant limestone platform that formed in shallow seas. No mountains, no earthquakes, just flat, which is great for beaches but terrible for climate change. Georgia. Georgia changed its capital 5 different times. Started in Savannah, moved to Augusta during the Revolutionary War, then bounced to Louisville, then Milledgeville, and finally landed on Atlanta in 1868. Why so many moves? White settlers kept pushing west into Native American lands and needed the capital to follow them, to cement their claims. So yeah, Georgia's capital history is basically a timeline of westward expansion and forced displacement. Hawaii. Hawaii is the only U.S. state that's literally growing. While coastal states fight rising sea levels, Hawaii gains about 42 acres every year from volcanic lava flows. It's even creating a brand new island called Loihi that'll emerge from the ocean in 10,000 to 100,000 years. So if you're playing the long game on real estate investment, you might want to wait a bit. Idaho. Everyone knows about the potatoes, but did you know it's called the Gem State? Star garnets found nowhere else except India are scattered throughout Idaho. Why? Because it sits on a tectonic plate boundary that created the Rockies, and that extreme pressure creates gems. Illinois. Illinois wasn't always this flat. 85% of it was buried under glaciers that left hundreds of feet of sediment when they retreated. That buried the original hills and valleys, but created some of the richest farmland in America. So Illinois traded its natural beauty for corn. Lots and lots of corn. Indiana. Indiana is home to 31 historic covered bridges, 21 still open for driving. But here's the thing. There used to be 14,000 covered bridges across America in the 1800s. Now, only 700 to 800 remain. Indiana kept 92 of them. They're not just scenic. They protected wooden bridges from rain, wind, and snow, making them last decades longer. It's like putting a roof on your deck, except for an entire bridge. Iowa. Flat as a pancake, right? Wrong. It's home to the world's shortest, steepest railway. The 4th Street elevator in Dubuque climbs 189 feet in elevation over just 296 feet of track. It's basically a roller coaster disguised as transportation. Kansas Film Vault. Kansas has a 275-million-year-old salt mine that's used to store Hollywood movies. 650 feet underground, the mine preserves film from Gone with the Wind, The Wizard of Oz, and Star Wars. Why? The salt provides perfect preservation conditions. Constant temperature, perfect humidity. Basically, your favorite movies are chilling in a giant underground refrigerator in Kansas. Kentucky. Kentucky bluegrass isn't from Kentucky. It's not even from America. It's an invasive species from Europe, Asia, and North Africa that the Spanish brought over. But Kentucky's climate was so perfect for it that it became the state's entire identity. They literally nicknamed themselves after a foreign invasive plant. Louisiana. Louisiana loses a football field of land every single hour. Between 1932 and 2010, it lost 1,900 square miles. That's bigger than Rhode Island. Cities like New Orleans are already below sea level. Entire communities like Isle de Jean-Charles had to uproot and move inland after 98% of their land disappeared. So if you're buying property in Louisiana, maybe think real hard about where you're putting that investment. Maine. Maine is 90% forest, even after centuries of logging. How? Great management. The state offers tax incentives and education programs to keep forests sustainable. It's also why Maine is 75% carbon neutral. Those trees act like a giant carbon sink. Maryland. Maryland is 1 mile wide at its narrowest point. The town of Hancock sits squeezed between Pennsylvania and Virginia. That's the narrowest non-vertex border-to-border distance of any U.S. state. You could literally walk across Maryland in 20 minutes there. Massachusetts. The oldest subway in America isn't in New York. It's in Boston. The Tremont Street subway opened in 1897, beating NYC by 7 full years. And it's still running today as part of the MBTA. Boston's been underground longer than New York, and nobody talks about it. Michigan. Michigan has mountains older than the Black Hills of South Dakota by 200 million years. The Porcupine Mountains formed 2 billion years ago, but they're so worn down now that they barely look like mountains anymore. Their highest point? Just under 2,000 feet. That's basically the Hollywood Hills. Minnesota. Minnesota isn't just the land of 10,000 lakes. It actually has 11,842 lakes. And its rivers and streams? If you lined them up end to end, they'd circle the equator almost 3 times. 69,000 miles of flowing water. You better like fishing. Mississippi. The Mississippi Delta is not where the Mississippi River meets the ocean. It's in northwest Mississippi, which makes zero geographical sense because a delta is supposed to be where a river meets the sea. But people started using the term for any lowland with lots of river channels, and the name stuck. So now we have a delta. That's not actually a delta. Missouri. Missouri is home to the tallest monument in America and the smallest national park, and they're the same place. The Gateway Arch stands 630 feet tall, more than twice the height of the Statue of Liberty. But the park around it? Only 192 acres, barely bigger than Disneyland. Montana. Montana recorded the biggest temperature change in U.S. history. Overnight, from January 14th to 15th, 1972, the temperature in Loma jumped from 54 degrees Celsius to 49 degrees F. That's a 103-degree swing. In one night. Imagine going to bed in Arctic conditions and waking up to spring weather. Montana's climate doesn't mess around. Nebraska. Nebraska sits on top of the Ogallala Aquifer, one of the largest underground water reserves on the planet. It's not a lake, it's saturated sediment that stores water, and it's the reason the Great Plains can support massive farms. Without it, much of the Midwest would be a desert. Nevada. Nevada is the driest state in America. 10.3 inches of rain per year. Southern Nevada gets even less. Just 7 inches. 85% of the state is desert or arid land. So yeah, Vegas is basically built in one of the driest places on Earth. That's why every drop of water there costs a fortune. New Hampshire. New Hampshire's Mount Washington recorded the fastest surface wind ever measured. 231 miles per hour. That's twice as fast as a skydiver falling belly first. And that was in 1934. The wind there is still insane, which is why it's called the most dangerous small mountain in the world. New Jersey. New Jersey is a peninsula. Most people never realize this. But look closely. The Delaware River flows between New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So New Jersey has the Atlantic on 3 sides and the Delaware River on the west. Only the north side connects to the mainland. New Mexico. New Mexico's white sands are so white that they don't absorb heat. Even when it's over 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside, the dunes are cool to the touch. Why? They're made of pure gypsum, the whitest naturally occurring sand in the world. So you can walk barefoot on them in the scorching desert heat. New York. Your compass stops working in the Adirondack Mountains. Massive iron ore deposits and magnetite, the most magnetic mineral on Earth, mess with magnetic fields. So if you're navigating old school up there, you're basically walking in circles. Better bring a GPS. North Carolina. North Carolina has the oldest river in North America, and it's called the New River. Yes, you heard that right. The New River is 260 to 325 million years old. It's older than the mountains around it. Explorers found it in 1671, called it New on their map, and everyone was too lazy to change it. North Dakota. You can walk into Canada at North Dakota's International Peace Garden without a passport checkpoint in the middle. Both Americans and Canadians can enter from either side and walk around the 2,300-acre park. You only hit a border station when you try to leave. It's basically a free roam zone on the 49th parallel. Ohio. Ohio's Cedar Creek State Park is a fossil hunter's paradise. The Army Corps of Engineers built a dam that exposed limestone full of ancient fossils. You can just pick them up, though you need a permit and you can't keep anything bigger than your hand. Oklahoma. Oklahoma is the tornado capital of the world. Not Texas, not Kansas, Oklahoma. It averages 68 tornadoes a year, though 2024 saw 91. And the strongest ones, they hit Oklahoma. The state sits right at the heart of Tornado Alley, where Arctic, Pacific, and Gulf air masses collide. Oregon. Oregon has 24,000 square miles of desert. In the Pacific Northwest, known for rain and forests. But the Cascade Mountains create a rain shadow that keeps moisture from moving east, turning eastern Oregon into high desert at 4,000 feet elevation. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's ground is basically Swiss cheese. Centuries of mining opened tunnels underneath the state, and natural limestone creates sinkholes everywhere. Sinkholes have swallowed yards, houses, even people. Missing persons cases solved when bodies are found dozens of feet underground. The ground under Pennsylvania. Not as solid as you think. Rhode Island. The smallest state in America is also 33% water, making it the third water-ice state behind Michigan and Hawaii. That combination of tiny size and tons of water limits growth. So Rhode Island stays peaceful and small, which its yacht owners probably prefer anyway. South Carolina. South Carolina has a ghost town underwater. Lake Jocassee was created in 1973 by a dam, flooding the historic Cherokee-Jocassee town. Divers can explore the submerged Mount Carmel Cemetery and Atakula Lodge, 300 feet below the surface. South Dakota. South Dakota operated the largest, deepest gold mine in U.S. history. The Homestake mine in lead extracted 40 million ounces of gold from 1876 to 2002. Today, scientists use the old mine for neutrino and dark matter experiments at the deepest scientific research facility in the country. Tennessee. Great Smoky Mountains. National Park isn't just the most visited park in America. It's not even close. In 2024, it got over 13 million visits. The second most visited park, Zion, only 4.9 million. Great Smoky Mountains gets nearly 3 times more visitors than any other park. Texas. Texas is larger than any country in Europe. Not just some countries, any country. Ukraine, the largest nation entirely in Europe, is 233,000 square miles. Texas? 269,000 square miles. The difference between Texas and Ukraine is literally bigger than the entire island of Ireland. Utah. Utah looks so much like Mars that NASA uses it to test equipment for Mars missions. The canyon lands around Hanksville have soil and landscapes nearly identical to the red planet. Scientists don't just think they look similar, they think they formed the same way. Vermont. Vermont has the world's largest underground marble quarry. The Danby Quarry has been operating since 1903, extracting marble that formed hundreds of millions of years ago. That marble is now in the New York Public Library, the UN Building, the Supreme Court, and the Thomas Jefferson Memorial. Virginia. Virginia's eastern shore is separated from the rest of the state by the entire Chesapeake Bay. To get there, you have to cross a 17.6-mile bridge tunnel. Before 1964, ferry only. This 70-mile section is actually connected to Maryland, but Virginia kept it because the British insisted when carving out Maryland. Washington. Washington's San Juan Islands change depending on the tide. At high tide, 176 islands. At low tide, 743 islands and reefs surface. The tidal range is 10 feet, and many parts of the archipelago sit just below sea level. West Virginia. West Virginia is landlocked, but has at least 32 islands in the Ohio River alone. Some are developed. Wheeling Island has a whole casino. Others have just a house or two. Either way, swimming out to river islands is a favorite pastime there. Wisconsin. Devil's Lake State Park has rock formations older than life on Earth. Not human life, any life. The Baraboo Quartzite is 1.5 billion years old. The first land plants appeared 500 million years ago. These rocks are 3 times older. You're looking at stone that existed before anything grew on land. And finally, Wyoming. The northwestern part of the state sits on top of a supervolcano. The Yellowstone caldera is 30 by 45 miles large. It's erupted 3 times in the last few million years. One eruption covered half of North America in ash. The good news? It's dormant. The bad news? It's not extinct. It's still active. Scientists are monitoring it and say there's nothing to worry about. For now. If any of these blew your mind, drop a comment with the fact that shocked you most. And if you want more geography content that doesn't hold back, subscribe and turn on notifications. I'll see you in the next one.